Okay, so I'm back at the bus. I'm going to take that hatch out and patch it with a sheet metal piece with some caulk from the top of the roof. There will be a skylight that I'm going to build or buy depending on pricing in the back. I may find another place to put a skylight escape hatch in on the roof, more forward of that. I've got to think about that based on solar panel placement and things like that, also where the fans are going to go. But for now, we're going to put sheet metal over this. I'm not sure if there will be anything there later or not in the way of a fan or whatnot. So anyhow, I'm going to get at it. Okay, so I just finished taking from the outside here these light fixtures off as I'm making my way up onto the roof. So at this point, all the lights are off the back of the bus, and I'll be able to wire wheel and paint the top right after I finish fastening this on. That may even happen today because the weather's pleasant if I'm quick at putting this hatch on or covering this hatch up. So anyway, I'll be getting up on the bus to fix that hatch. Okay, so I've marked out a 27-inch line here. I'm going to cut this sheet metal. After that, I'm going to go up and remove the hatch, and we'll clean the edges on this a bit and put some caulk around it and screw it in place. So that's the plan here. I'll use some sheet metal screws, self-tapping most likely. Okay, so I've just got the last screw out of the hatch. You wouldn't think so, but you actually sometimes need an angle grinder to remove something as simple as a hatch. You'll see I had to slot the head of that screw. They were just in there pretty tight. You can tell with the rust level on that screw, it was corroded to the metal. And then I had to use a flat head on the drill. The impact wrench just couldn't do much, so battery was about half charged. I threw it on the charger, but I've got all the screws out at this point. Even used some pliers. So again, this is why stuff takes longer than you expect it to. Buy an Arizona bus, maybe your rust will be less than this. Okay, so now I see why this was leaking. They actually fastened that over this seam with these rivets underneath it and this lowering down, and they didn't put nearly enough adhesive in, so over time it just started leaking on the seam here. So not sure how long it was leaking, but yeah, this could have been done better at the factory from what I can see. So at this point, I'm going to clean it up with a wire wheel, and after that I'll be screwing the new one in place with plenty of caulk. Okay, so I've used that wire wheel that I dropped down there, scuffed up the edges all the way around. Now I'm going to take that piece of metal and put it in place with the brown side down over a thick bead of acrylic caulk. After that, I'll screw it in place and spray paint it and get off the roof. Okay, so it got dark out here. I'm on the roof in the dark with the trouble light. Had a heck of a time, broke some bits and stuff trying to get these fasteners in. I'm going to hit this with a coat of white paint and call it quits. I finally got enough fasteners in and caulked the edges, so ain't pretty, but who cares? Nobody's looking at the roof, except maybe helicopter pilots. Okay, so there it is, finished, painted, just like the one up there in the front. So I'm going to call it quits for the night. Alright, so I'm back at the bus. Today's order of business is to wire wheel and paint with primer this upper section on the back. If I have time, I'm going to remove the front mirrors and possibly wire wheel and paint the lower part of the front. So we'll see how much I get done today. Alright, so I'm up on the ladder here. I'm going to start from the top with the grinder and clean everything up going down. And then we'll hit it with the paintbrush and some primer. What I'm going to do here is from the rear, I will put in sheet metal from inside. And at that point, I will likely fill it with some body filler and whatnot maybe tack weld it a little bit. I got to think about that, but I'm going to basically create a flat surface. Okay, so scuffed up this corner here. I'm going to move the ladder down and do more of the center section and keep moving here. Okay, so continuing with the wire wheeling. Got this stuff cleaned up in the middle. Now I'll move the ladder again. Okay, so I have the whole thing scuffed up. Now it's ready for a coat of the red oxide primer. So we'll get that put in place here in a minute. Alright, so I've started putting the red oxide primer on. I'm losing daylight here, but hopefully I can finish. Alright, so got dark here pretty early. It's just a little after 6, I believe. Maybe not even 6. But I got a little bit painted after wire wheeling, but I'm not interested in trying to paint by trouble light here, so I'll get at it tomorrow. Okay, so I'm back at the bus here. Got some daylight. I'm going to get the rest of this primer up in the back to start with. Okay, so I've gotten most of this top covered with some primer. I'm working down as I go here. Won't be too long before the back end is coated. Okay, so at this point I've got the paint drying over the entire back. And my light's fading, so I think I'm going to be done for the evening. Alright, so I'm back at the bus for a couple hours here on an evening. I might have lost footage here when I changed memory cards. I got a corrupted card. That'll teach me to buy the cheap one. But anyway, I removed the mirrors. I removed the trim pieces. So the mirrors up high and the lower rounded mirrors. Then these, there were silver trim pieces here. So what I'm going to do today, if I can find a paintbrush, I'm going to hit this with the wire wheel and put primer on it. But I'm also going to find a 1/2-inch drill bit and put grommets in place for the wiring on the clearance and marker lights. And I'm going to patch inside the bus. You can see the daylight shining through at the back of the bus there, through the window. I'm going to patch those flasher holes. And I'll probably remove these lights up here as well. So that might be more than I can do while I'm here, but that's the agenda. Okay, so I've started scuffing the paint here in order to put the primer on. And I'll get the whole front done on the lower part. This upper part here I can't do until I finish some riveting. But we'll get back at it here. Okay, so I've got the whole front lower section here scuffed up with the wire wheel. Now I'm going to hit it with the blower, get all the dust off, and then we'll prime it. Okay, so I've started painting it with the primer here. I'll keep at it. Okay, so I had to pull the car up to use the headlights here, but I've got the front end painted in primer. So we're going to probably call it quits for the night. Okay, so I'm back at the bus. It's a bit of a drizzly day. Looks like the primer dried fairly well. I don't see too much in the way of runs here, so that's good. What I'm going to do now, I've got a cordless drill here with a 1/2-inch drill bit. I'm going to widen the holes for the automotive lighting on the side of the bus so that I can put grommets in. 1/2-inch is the size for those grommets, and those will protect the wires I'm about to put through. Okay, so I'm putting these little donut grommets in the 1/2-inch holes to protect the wires. Okay, so my next step here is to remove the lights in the front, and I'm going to remove the lights on the top rail of the side going on all the way around. After that, I'll get that 1/2-inch bit out and drill some holes. I'm also going to put the cover plate from the inside of metal to cap off these holes, because the fixtures I'm getting, the lighting fixtures, are all surface mount. Except here, they're going to mount to the eyebrows. They're going to be off-road lights up here. So they'll either mount through the skin on bolts or to the eyebrows. I have to decide, actually. So anyway, taking lights off the bus is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so out of this scrap of metal from the roof raise. I'm actually cutting 4 of these 8x16 patches. There'll be 2 in the back and 2 in the front to cover up those openings. I'm going to caulk and rivet them in place from the inside. I'll drill the holes first and cleco them from the inside, and then I'll get them riveted from the outside. Alright, so I removed that red light, clearance light, and I decided to, this one only had 2 holes, 3 holes actually, but I decided to put the wire hole on this side. I'll have to patch that other hole. The ones I'm getting aren't an exact match, so I'm going to have to fill that hole in, probably, I'm not sure how, but probably just use a little bit of double-sided tape is what I'm going for there in my thought process, to hold a piece of metal up there, and then I'll likely use that to create a backer for some body filler right there. So anyhow, just a thought. Alright, so I removed this amber light. I kept the wire hole the same, so that'll mean that the new light will shift over a little bit. I'll have to patch this hole. This one will probably be covered up with caulk or butyl tape. So anyhow, on to the next one over here at the front. Okay, so I got another amber marker light here in the front out. Again, I offset it from where it was, pulled it back a little bit. The new one's going to fit like so. It'll still be able to shine from the front or to the back. I just didn't want to try to mount it on center here this way. The new one actually has its wires in the center, I believe. So anyhow, we'll have to, like I said, patch some of these screw holes. Maybe a little body filler with a square of sheet metal or something. Alright, so what I'm doing now is taking the front school bus lights off. Hopefully these cooperate better than the ones in the back did. I ended up having a lot of trouble getting those off. Alright, so this first one sort of cooperated. Came out in a whole piece. I didn't have to whack it with a hammer like the ones in the back. Got the eyebrow off, so try the next one. Okay, so I've got these clearance lights, or ID lights actually, taken off. I'm not sure where I want to drill the holes here. I'm still debating whether I'm going to use a light bar here instead of 3 individual lights. Got to look at that. So I may wait. I think I'm going to wait to drill the holes here. Okay, so I got this front corner done. All the lights in the front here have been removed. Just got to snip some wires there. So got one more light down there to do, and then I've got to put a grommet in at the last position. From there, I'm going to take the ladder to the back of the bus, and I'll be able to put the steel in with some caulk. Okay, so all of the old lighting is now removed from the bus. I've got the grommet holes in all of the clearance and marker positions. Next thing is to put the metal patches that I cut into the school bus flasher spots. So what I think I'm going to do is lightly screw them from the inside out in the center, and then I'll put caulk around the edges, and then I'll tighten that center screw, and then I'll be drilling holes for rivets and rivet them from the outside with 3/16 rivets. Okay, so I used the ground screws, the holes from the grounds from the old fixtures, to put some self-tapping screws in, holding this in place. My next step here is to drill some rivet holes, and then I'm going to caulk, and I'll rivet this in place. Okay, so I'm losing my light here, but I've got this one pre-drilled for rivets for 6 holes. I'll have to pull the screws out to drill the last 2. I've offset those from how the lights are going to be screwed in and the eyebrows. I'm going to now caulk here, and then I will set the rivets after tightening the screws. So that's the plan here. We're going to get this riveted in place with caulk behind it. Okay, so I have a copious amount of caulk squeezed in there. Now for riveting. We're going to tighten those 2 sheet metal screws. They're going to rivet, and then we'll drill those last 2 again and rivet there as well. Okay, so I was able to rivet the metal in behind to seal those holes. I use the excess caulk to kind of just smear over that rusty metal. I'm going to hit that with the grinder actually, with the wire wheel, and clean it up, and I'll reprime it when I do this part here. But next time I'm out here, I'll start on that one and then do the other 2 in the back. Alright, so I'm back at the bus. Got a little time here this evening. I'm going to try to get as many of these other ones patched as I can. We'll see how that goes. Alright, so my light's fading, but I got this other side in the front done. Again, I'm going to wire wheel the excess caulk off of that. I just smeared it to make it flat and easier to deal with. So anyhow, I'm going to go to the back. I've already screwed the plates up in place. Now I'm going to drill the rivet holes, then caulk, then put rivets in. Okay, so I'm back at the bus. Last night I finished patching that side and the back here. Now I'm going to patch this one here. Alright, so I got the last set of these flasher light holes covered up. And we'll wait for that caulk to dry. I will hit that with the wire wheel, clean it up a bit, then hit it with some primer. And my plan is to actually put the eyebrows back on. On the back, I'm going to have a turn signal, an auxiliary turn signal, 7-inch LED here. And then here, there'll be a red stoplight 7-inch LED for auxiliary braking indication and tail light. Same thing on that side. And then here, somewhere in this part of the bus down here, I'll have the a stop bar in the center, red. And then I'll have 7-inch LED in red, yellow, and clear on the engine bay door. So those will be the rear signals. I'm going, I think, with Maxima brand LEDs. I've got to wait for the quote. Trying to make a deal with an auto electric place nearby. And once I've got the right price on that stuff, I'll probably pull the trigger on at least part of it and get it installed. It's pretty expensive. Could be about $1,000 worth of automotive lighting. So. But LED should never need replaced while we own the bus, is my hope. But anyhow, I'm also going to do in the front 7-inch turn signals in amber, and then I'll have some side indicators for turning sort of toward the front of the bus, along with the marker lights and reflectors required and clearance lights. But they're all going to be LED, likely the Maxima brand. So anyhow, I'm going to get at the next task, which will be, I think I'm going to either spray foam or start running wiring. Probably start running automotive wiring, actually. Alright, so the very next thing I need to do is clean this front half of the bus. It's pretty chaotic and messy. I'm going to get at that. Alright, so I'm making some progress. I ran my power cord out the other side of the bus by the driver window, or through the driver window. Got some more lighting in here for winter, for the winter early darkness. So now I'm starting to clean up this floor area. I'll get these excess pieces of foam off the floor and metal scraps and get it all cleaned up and shop vac so I have a safe working area. After that, it's wiring and filling in gaps with the spray foam. That'll probably happen tomorrow. Okay, so I got some cleaning done. I'll get back at it tomorrow. I should be able to put a full day in tomorrow, but I got the well here where the couch is going to go cleaned out. Got some of the wood swept, things a bit organized. So don't underestimate the time you're going to spend just tidying up doing these projects. So far it's been quite a lot of time investment for me, just trying to keep my work area safe as I go. So anyhow, that's it for the evening. I'm going to go hang out with my mom for a little bit, and then I'll head home.